Okay, so we're going to look at the structure of an argument tonight, plus a bit of if arguments are logical or not, but mostly we're going to look at the structure itself. So, when I found this, I said, yes, I like this. I like illustrations, right? So here are words that would be good for you to know. You know argument. It's the overall thing. Use of reasons and evidence to support a claim. Okay. The claim is the main point of an argument. Okay. Then the counterclaim is a point that disagrees with the author's main point. And so what a counterclaim does is, if an author uses a counterclaim, then he or she will say, maybe at the end of all of her arguments, she'll say, now I know that there are people that believe da-da-da-da-da, okay? But this is why it's not true, or why I don't believe it. That's a counterclaim. And if an author uses a counterclaim, that really actually adds strength to their argument, okay? Because it means that they've thought about the other side, all right? So just because they acknowledge the other person's point of view does not mean that it's weak, okay? All right. So there's evidence and there's reasons. Okay. Actually, reasons should come first. Oh, they're doing this in alphabetical order. I get it, you guys. Okay. So reason is why the author makes the claim. So like first, da 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 da, and then they'll use evidence like examples, facts, quotes. Okay. Something else that's really important, I keep mentioning the transition words, but is to notice where the transition words are, because that gives you an idea about where the argument is going, okay? So if there's first, next, also, finally, therefore, those are words that you really pay attention to know that where the author is going. Okay. So, so in here there are. So this is a fairly easy one. I realize, but I thought it was kind of cute. So it's talking about after finding the three transition words that signal reasons or evidence for the claim and underline them. So in support of gum chewing, and so what are these things? So here's this is the title, in support of gum chewing. Okay, so sentence number 1 says, students should be permitted to chew gum in class. Okay, is it a claim or a counterclaim? A claim, yeah. For sure. Often I'll say, in a longer essay or a longer passage, often the claim is going to be at the end of the first paragraph. Doesn't have to be, but often that's where it is. For one thing, chewing gum helps students relieve stress. Okay.
Reason.
That's a reason. That's exactly right. And there's a transition on number 2. For one thing. That's our transition. Okay. Yep. Okay. In fact, researchers in Japan found that gum chewing was associated with less stress in a group of young people who were asked to chew gum twice a day for 2 weeks.
Evidence.
That's the evidence. So this is the reason why, like the first reason in support of the claim, right, is chewing gum helps students relieve stress. And then this is an actual study that's been done as evidence for this particular reason. Okay. All right. In addition, Chewing gum in class helps students stay more focused and alert, especially when taking tests.
Reason.
So, and I see. Oh, I skipped. What are the transition words in 3 and 4? In fact, and in addition, yes. Okay, so, and then a 2011 study showed that participants who chewed gum just before and at the beginning of a test had higher test performance than those who didn't.
Evidence?
That's the evidence right there, yes. And then some may argue that gum chewing shouldn't be allowed in the classroom because it's distracting and messy.
Claim.
That's the counterclaim, yes. So her claim was students should be permitted to chew gum in class, and then she says, now, some are going to argue that it shouldn't be allowed. That's the counterclaim, okay? A complete argument would end up with a conclusion, okay? Restating the claim, probably. Okay, let me see. I think those are the only transition words I see. But again, transition words are really powerful in you figuring out where the main points are. Okay. Now, let me just say that be prepared on the test to not be asked, like, my hunch is, my hunch is that you will be asked more about evidence than about the reasons. So the evidence is, I'm guessing you won't need to tease apart the reasoning and the evidence, okay? By yourself tonight?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Boy, everybody is being like that. These two are recovering.
My sisters are sick as well.
Oh, dear. Just don't pass it on to me, please. Okay.
I was already sick. I figured I'm good.
Yeah, you're right. So, Naomi, what we're doing is to look more at arguments tonight and basically looking at the structures of it, and perhaps some of like bad evidence, faulty evidence, but mostly we're looking at the structure. And so that first page just gives definitions. And we just got done on page 2 looking at identifying them as claims or reasons or evidence. Okay. All right. So now, here, this is called Take a Hike. Just because, let's read this one aloud. So, Anna, I'm going to have you start with the first paragraph, okay?
What does the word
hike?
Yeah, I just heard you say it. Word hike suggests to you. Maybe you picture people spending days on a trail. The hikers climb steep mountains. They carry heavy package, wear special boots, and set up tents at night. The picture fits with big, challenging hikes. Those kinds of hikes are not for everyone, but hikes doesn't have to be big. Small hikes are just walking through the woods or other natural areas. A hike is for almost everyone, and it's worth doing.
Okay, Naomi.
The main reason for hiking is that it's excellent exercise. Exercise is needed for physical health. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, regular physical activity is important for promoting lifelong health and well-being and preventing various health conditions. The whole body is working during a hike: muscles, legs, heart, joints. Hikers improve their balance and strength. Hiking helps bodies blend and strengthen more easily. Bones grow stronger. Hiking even helps with weight control.
Let me see. Garrett.
Hiking is also good for mental health. In one experiment, researchers had one group of people take a walk in a grassy area with trees. Another group walked on the city sidewalks. Each group walked for 90 minutes. The researchers made measurements, including brain scans, and after the walks, there was a difference in the brains of the two groups. The difference pointed to a better mood among the group who walked in nature, and science proving that what people have always felt to be true, that it just feels good to breathe fresh air and see and touch natural things, and getting away from the noise and rush. In Japan, for example, doctors prescribed forest bathing. Spending time close to nature, trees and plants have a calming healing effect.
Go ahead.
Furthermore, hikes can be enjoyed by people with a range of ability levels and in a variety of locations. Hikes don't have to require special equipment. Though big bikes require special equipment, small hikes require only sturdy footwear. People who live near state parks or conservation areas can find many trails to choose from. But city dwellers should not feel left out. City parks often have walking paths. The wood trail may be just a right away on public transportation. All sorts of hiking trails are out there for people to discover and enjoy. Only to take 5 too.
Rachel, you get one whole sentence.
Check out which trails are near your home, then get out there and take a hike.
All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
Where it says a hike, why is the I and the S capitalized? Did I read that wrong? A hike isn't for almost everyone.
Oh, a hike is for almost everyone. And so because it's capitalized in the middle of a sentence, that's a great question. The reason it's capitalized in the middle of a sentence, anybody know why?
Emphasizing.
To emphasize it. Yep. Yep. Okay, so this is one of those times when the article really does help you figure out, right? So what the author's trying to tell you. What's the claim? What's the author's claim? Go ahead and underline what you say is the claim. All right, what'd you underline? Or what should you have underlined?
Well, one thing I know is it's worth doing. Like hiking is for everyone. And it's worth
Yes. So, in fact, this whole last sentence is the author's claim, right? So, yay for hikes, and you should do it. That's basically what the author is saying. Okay. So, what is the first reason, and where is it?
What does?
It's excellent exercise.
Yeah.
Reason for hiking.
The main reason is that it's excellent exercise. Okay, so that's the first reason. Let's go on to finding the other reasons. What are the other reasons?
Calming.
Where are you? Where are you? Which paragraphs are you guys talking about?
No, I can't find it.
Hiking is also good.
Yeah. Exactly. Hiking is also good for mental health. Yep. In fact, what's the transition word there?
Also,
Yep. Good clue word right there. I see one more reason for hiking. Yeah. This whole thing, you're right, can be enjoyed by people with a range of ability levels in a variety of locations.
And furthermore, it's a transition.
Exactly. Okay, so you see, in fact, the main reason could be considered a transition word, okay? But also and furthermore are your clue words or transition words, okay? All right, now let's talk about the kinds of evidence. Oh, wait a minute. Is there a counter claim in here? Are they saying anywhere? I know that not everybody enjoys hiking. Do they say that anywhere? I don't think so. There may be one kind, a little teeny tiny bit of a counterclaim. Those kinds of hikes are not for everyone. But then what she says or he says is the hikes don't have to be big. Which paragraph are you?
Because people who live near state parks are
Yes. Oh, but city dwellers should not feel left out. You're exactly right. Could that be a counterclaim? Just about. You could almost hear somebody say that lives in the city, but I don't have any. Yes. So in a way, that could be. Yes. Yeah.
Also, the next part of it is that city parks often have walking paths and wood trails. It's kind of like you can't go to the go hiking, go on a city path.
Correct.
You mentioned that up above, that it's not the best compared to when someone on a hike in nature and on a walk in a sidewalk and all that.
But you're still getting fresh air, is what the author is saying. Yeah, exactly.
It could be a counter argument, but not.
Kind of. Yeah. I would say, now here again, not necessarily, but often you're going to see a counterclaim. Sometimes you're going to see a counterclaim in its own little paragraph, okay? But maybe not. That really depends on the author. Okay. So right now, let's just look at the kind of so obviously all of this is evidence then to support the reason or evidence to support the claim, right? What kind of evidence do you see? The main reason for hiking is that it's excellent exercise. What do they do in here? What kind of evidence?
The benefits that hiking can improve for your body.
Okay, all right. So they're specific about the body improvements, right?
During a hike, your whole body is working during a hike. Muscles, lung, heart, and joints.
Yeah.
It's telling them that it improves your heart, lungs, it makes them stronger.
Great. Yes. So they're being very specific. And Tina, what did you say? No? You did say something. And here, this is also really important. They're quoting an expert, okay? In this case, an expert organization rather than just one person, okay? So be on the lookout for the quotes because those are very helpful, typically, very helpful evidence, okay? Now, what kind of evidence do they show here? Do they talk about in this one?
That experiment.
Yes, that experiment. Okay, so they're citing a study, and so as we've talked about before, if you can cite studies, or if the author is citing studies, that gives it some good quality evidence. Nothing is really. They're not quoting anybody, and they're not citing a study. But what are they doing here?
Saying that hikers don't have to go out and buy a bunch of special equipment. They can just also use what they have.
So they're making it very practical for how to do it. Yep. Okay. Good. So that is just another taking an article apart. Okay. I apologize. This was my fault. We just have to read this one aloud.
Mine's upside down.
I know. Everybody's is upside down. So, my apologies. So we're going to be answering a bunch of questions at the end of this, but the title of this article is "Killer Clothing Was All the Rage in the 19th Century," and notice that who wrote it. It's from the National Geographic, and it's written by this author. But the really important thing to notice is that it's written in the National Geographic, which they tend to have well-documented articles. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Yes, very good quality videos. So, arsenic dresses, mercury hats, and flammable clothing caused a lot of pain is the introduction. Okay. All right. Actually, I'm going to read this. Be looking for what you would say the author is, what the author's argument is. Okay. It's not as clear-cut as the hiking one that we just looked at. Okay, while sitting at home one afternoon in 1861, poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's wife, Fanny, caught fire. Her burns were so severe that she died the next day. According to her obituary, the fire had started when a match or piece of lighted paper caught her dress. At the time, this wasn't a peculiar way to die. In the days when candles, oil lamps, and fireplaces lit and heated American and European homes, women's wide hoop skirts and flowing cotton and tulle dresses were a fire hazard, unlike men's tighter-fitting wool clothes. It wasn't just dresses. Fashion at this time was riddled with dangers. Socks made with aniline dyes inflamed men's feet and gave garment workers sores and even bladder cancer. Lead makeup damaged women's wrist nerves so that they couldn't raise their hands. Celluloid combs, which some women wore in their hair, exploded if they got too hot. In Pittsburgh, a newspaper reported that a man with a celluloid comb lost his life, quote, while caring for his long gray beard, unquote. In Brooklyn, a comb factory exploded. Okay, going on to the next page. In fact, some of the most fashionable clothing of the day was made using chemicals that are today considered too toxic to use. And it was the producers of this clothing rather than the wearers who suffered most of all. Mercurial maladies. Many people think that mad as a hatter refers to the mental and physical side effects hat makers endured from using mercury in their craft. Though scholars dispute whether this is actually the origin of the phrase, many hatters did develop mercury poisoning. And even though the phrase has a certain levity to it, and while the Mad Hatter in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was silly and fun, the actual maladies hat makers suffered were no joke. Mercury poisoning was debilitating and deadly. In the 18th and 19th centuries, a lot of men's felt hats were made using hair and rabbit fur. In order to make this fur stick together to form felt, hatters brushed it with mercury. It was extremely toxic, says Allison Matthews David, author of Fashion Victims. The dangers of dress past and present. Sorry, I read that wrong. It was extremely toxic, says Allison Matthews David, author of Fashion Victims, The Danger of Dress Past and Present. Especially if you inhale it, it goes straight to your brain. One of the first symptoms was neuromotor problems, like trembling. In the hat-making town of Danbury, Connecticut, this was known as the Danbury Shakes. Then there were the psychological problems. You would become very shy, very paranoid, Matthews David says. When medical examiners visited hatters to document their symptoms, hatters thought they were being observed, and they would throw down their tools and get angry and have outbursts. Many hatters also developed cardiorespiratory problems, lost their teeth, and died at early ages. Although these effects were documented, many viewed them as the hazards that one had to accept with the job. And besides, the mercury only affected the hatters, not the men who wore the hats, who were protected by the hat's lining. There was always kind of a bit of a pushback from the hatters themselves, Matthews David says, of these dangerous working conditions. But really, honestly, the only thing that made mercury hat making disappear was the fact that men's hats went out of fashion in the 1960s. That's really when it dies. It was never banned in Britain. Arsenic was everywhere in Victorian Britain. Although it was known to be used as a murder weapon, the cheap natural element was used in candles, curtains, and wallpaper. Writes James C. Horton in The Arsenic Century, how Victorian Britain was poisoned at home, work, and play. Because it dyed fabric bright green, arsenic also ended up in dresses, gloves, shoes, and artificial flower wreaths that women used to decorate their hair and clothes. The wreaths in particular could cause rashes for women who wore them. But like mercury hats, arsenic fashions were most dangerous for the people who manufactured them, says Matthews David. For example, in 1861, a 19-year-old artificial flower maker named Matilda Schur, whose job involved dusting flowers with green arsenic-laced powder, died a violent and colorful death. She convulsed, vomited, and foamed at the mouth. Her bile was green, and so were her fingernails and the whites of her eye. An autopsy found arsenic in her stomach, liver, and lungs. Articles about Schur's death and the plight of artificial flower makers raised public awareness about arsenic in fashion. The British Medical Journal wrote that the arsenic-wearing woman carries in her skirts poison enough to slay the whole of the admirers she may meet with in half a dozen ballrooms. In the mid to late 1800s, sensational claims like these began to turn public opinion against this deadly shade of green. Safety and fashion. Public concern over arsenic helped phase it out of fashion. Scandinavia, France, and Germany banned the pigment. Britain did not. The move away from arsenic was hastened by the invention of synthetic dyes, which made it easy to let arsenic go, according to Elizabeth Semmelhack, senior curator at the Bata Shoe Museum in Toronto, Canada. This raises interesting questions about fashion today. While arsenic dresses might seem like bizarre relics of a more brutal age, killer fashion is still very much in vogue. In 2009, Turkey banned sandblasting, the practice of spraying denim with sand to give it a fashionable, distressed look, because workers were developing silicosis from breathing in sand. It's not a curable disease, Matthews David says of silicosis. If you have sand in your lungs, it will kill you. Yet when a dangerous production method is banned in one country, and when the demand for the clothing that method produces remains high, then production typically moves somewhere else or continues despite the ban. Last year, Al Jazeera found that some Chinese factories were sandblasting clothes. In the 1800s, men who wore mercury hats or women who wore arsenic-laced clothing and accessories might have seen the people who produced these items on the streets of London or read about them in the local paper. But in a globalized economy, many of us don't see the deadly effects that our fashion choices have on others. Okay, so I'm just going to say straight out, this is not as clearly structured argument as some that you're going to read. Okay? But what do you think is the author what do you think is the claim, the bottom line argument that the author's talking about?
The dye about in their clothes.
Okay, it includes the dye in the clothes. Okay. Is that the basic bottom line claim? I would say it's one piece of evidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Or one, yes, I would say evidence. So what do you think is the author's bottom line claim?
That the stuff that they used to use in clothes were really deadly, I'd say.
Okay. And then I agree with you. That it was deadly not only to the people wearing it, but for the producers, right? The manufacturers.
I have
So,
one question. Do they still use mercury for felt hats, or have they?
oh, there's absolutely no way that they can.
They
I
can't?
don't think there's any
It's
way.
made me curious because, like, I see cowboys wearing a bunch of felt hats, like cowboy hats. I wonder. Now reading this, I'm like, I wonder if they still.
Go
do
home
that.
and check it out, but I don't think so. I really don't. So, then the author makes this weird, I guess it's a she, makes this sudden jump. And they put these ellipses in there, which is the dots, the 3 dots. That means that they've skipped some stuff in the article, okay? But it's a strange jump and a very sudden jump from Victorian England to today, to modern times, yes. And so what do you think? What do you think the author might be talking about? What might this fashion, and what about fashion? Fashion safety. Okay, yeah. And what about fashion safety is she trying? Do you think what's the point that she might be making?
That even though we don't like the archaic arsenic and mercury stuff is gone, we still do similar stuff.
Yeah.
Sandblasting.
And just aren't aware of it, right?
Yeah, just like how they weren't aware of all that
Right.
stuff until people were dying.
Right. Okay, now let's talk about, so what did you notice in here, especially about, well, just the things that we've talked about, the structure of an argument. We've talked about the claim. What about the reasons or the evidence specifically did you notice? Like what kinds of evidence does she use?
Well, the death of that one girl.
Okay,
with the flower
okay,
making.
all right.
That's
Yeah.
the evidence.
Okay, that's definitely evidence, yes. And so we might call that an anecdote. Okay, do you remember that word from earlier? Anecdote, what does it mean?
I remember the word. I don't.
Story, okay? Yeah, anecdote means story. You'll want to store that in your brain. It'll come out handy on the test, I believe. Plus, it's just one that you can spit at somebody else. Oh, yeah, you think that's such a cool anecdote.
Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's wife's fatality.
And that was another anecdote, right? Yes. And what else? Besides, I'm remembering specifically 2 stories. What else besides the stories does she use as evidence?
Their lungs using like
What'd you say, Tian?
Something about the
The toxic stuff, yes. And what did you say, Anna?
about their lungs and what it all causes.
Yes. And so, what I was noticing, do you see, right here in 7, it talks about toxic, right? And she's quoting, okay? So there are a lot of quotes in here from people who've done major studies on it, okay? And remember, quotes from the experts really substantiates your arguments. Okay. All right. So now let's look at some questions. Oh, way to go. I did not put in the first question. Oh, phooey. You don't have questions on there. I'm going to show them to you. But I left off the first question. Okay, so here, so this asks, let me get this bigger so you can see it better. One reason the author introduces the present-day fashion industry is, and frankly, I found this one to be quite difficult. I did come up with a correct answer, but I found this question to be quite difficult. One reason the author introduces the present-day fashion industry is to show that nothing has changed with respect to unsafe manufacturing techniques, illustrate the effect of globalization, demonstrate how public concern about the welfare of fashion workers has increased, explain how fashion manufacturing has changed since the 1800s.
I think it's more A, but all of them have their aspects in that article, so I think it's more A.
Okay. Why?
Because it shows that nothing has changed with aspect of safety, manufacturing, and techniques, meaning like how they are doing arsenic and the mercury is no different to how they're doing the sandblasting today. How they're dealing with those who have died. And
Okay.
all that.
So here is a counter argument to that. The one thing that I noticed was it says that nothing has changed. And exactly those that you mentioned have changed. And so I thought, I don't, so some things have changed. You're exactly right. And I think that's part of the point that the author is making, is that there are still unsafe practices. But I picked up on the nothing. And I thought, I don't think that that's correct. But keep that in mind. Yes.
D.
Explain how fashion manufacturing has changed since the 1800s. Okay, so how would that, how has it changed, would you say?
We're not using mercury. As far as I know, we're not using mercury or arsenic, as far as I know.
Uh-huh. We'd better not be.
And we're not using whatever else it was.
Okay, so in some ways, A and D are connected, right? Okay, all right. So keep that in mind. Let's go back. Let's talk about B. Does the article does this present day illustrate the effect of globalization?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Does it demonstrate how public concern about the welfare of fashion workers has increased?
It's debatable.
That's debatable.
Yeah.
Okay, so out of the four, whoa, out of the four of them, what do you think is the most logical answer?
B.
B?
Wasn't for the nothing, I'd still say A.
Okay, you can stick with A. You sure can.
I'd say D because it kind of goes along with it. If you put D in with that, with the sentence, one reason the author introduces present day fashion. Present day fashion industry is to explain how fashion manufacturing was changed since the 1800s.
Okay.
I really am going to change that, not to C.
To C?
C.
C?
C,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Are you committing, Rachel? Are you committing, Naomi? Which one? D. Okay, so let's look at what they have. So I'm just going to read this. You need to look at a development question in the context of the overall chain of ideas in the passage. In this case, why does the author move from discussing fashion manufacturing in the 1800s to the modern day? She has described how mercury disappeared, and we talked about that, how synthetic dyes accelerated the end of arsenic. But so what? Does that mean today's fashion industry is safe? So moving to the present allows her to answer these questions. She makes an abrupt transition which still skillfully manages to connect the two eras. Then she goes on to say that at least one unsafe technique, sandblasting, is used today. So her answer is no. The fashion industry still isn't free of danger. Okay. Keeping on going. At first glance, it seems that none of these choices hit that mark accurately. Okay? And I agree with that. Okay, choice A uses extreme language, saying nothing has changed, which is usually a suspect answer in a GED question, okay? So, some manufacturing techniques have changed. Another clearly incorrect answer is D. The author gives one example, sandblasting, of present-day killer fashion, which she says is still very much in vogue. So today's fashion industry still contains dangers, even if they're different. Okay? C is also incorrect. Public concern has not increased. Okay? In fact, public concern has declined. Why? In a globalized economy, banned sandblasting simply moved from Turkey to China, and the deadly effects on workers are hidden far away. Okay? Now, that's a long explanation, but does that help to see that? So that nothing that is like too extreme, I guess. Yeah.
It's almost like she's making it sound like, yeah, it was now this, but now it's perfect.
No, she doesn't say that. That answer. Got it.
Sounds like
yes.
Nope. Now everything's hunky-dory.
You're right. You're exactly right. Yeah, and it's not. She definitely makes that. Okay. So it's not nothing. It's
still very dangerous.
It is.
Better pay well.
To illustrate the effect of globalization, okay? Keep that in mind for a later question. Okay.
Better pay good if they're putting their lives on the line for it.
Yeah, but they don't, because it's China, right?
Oh, that is true.
Yep.
China's.
Yep. And that's why we like getting things from China, right? Made in China. Yeah.
I like getting my parts from China as long as they get here in one piece and fast.
Okay. When you see the word riddle or riddled, what do you think of? There are a couple of definitions of riddled.
I've heard the term before, but I can't put them.
Like it's kind of like, I'm thinking like the word kind of infested, but that's not correct. That's not what I'm trying to go for, but it's like riddled, like it's infested with.
Ah, okay. Infested with, yes. So, literally, what riddles like a tree trunk? Ah, that's a bad example. Are any of you hunters? Do any of you use guns?
I use a gun.
What happens if you shoot a paper full of holes? What do you call that?
Riddled with holes.
It's riddled with holes.
So
Okay, so it's like infested with holes. Yes. Now, what's probably even a more common usage of riddle?
Like when you're saying a riddle.
Exactly, when you're saying a riddle. That's right. Okay, so look at this. Fashion at this time was riddled with dangers. And think about the usage of both of those. Okay? The reason I ask that is because, look at this question right here. It says, in paragraph 3, the author claims that fashion at this time was riddled with dangers. What connotations, and we've talked about that word before, that's another really important word to know. Connotations is implications or suggestions. What does it suggest to you? Does the word riddled add to her description of fashion? Okay, so out of these 6, there are only 3, so only half of these work. So fashion at this time was riddled with dangers. What do you think might be the 3 best answers for what she means?
I'd say the first one is it suggests something hidden. It's hidden with dangers.
It's hidden with dangers, which goes with the riddle that Anna was talking about. Okay. What else?
I would say if it
The reinforces
dangers.
Okay. It concerns weakening or damaging something. Okay. Because definitely riddling would, I mean, if it's infested with it, right? Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, if you shoot a buck or something, then you weakened it, and then you can pull another shot off.
Correct. Yes.
That is if you get it right.
Correct.
Usually we try to make it once.
You tried to make it once. Yes.
And I actually was able to pull that off.
Okay. Indicates hazardous or treacherous?
I would end up saying
E. Okay. Does it imply deadly?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I would say hazardous more than deadly.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
Okay.
deadly for some people. But yeah, hazardous and treacherous is a better fit.
Right. Yeah, you're right. It could be deadly but hazardous is a better fit. Right, what you said. Okay. So, fashions at this time was riddled with dangers. So we have 4. Which one are we going to eliminate, do you think?
I'd say F. It indicates something had, because it goes with A, it suggests something hidden, which reinforces dangers, and then it indicates hazardous and treacherous. That kind of goes both with hidden and dangerous, kind of. Like,
Uh-huh.
logic.
Okay, so let's see what they say. All right. However, not everyone died as a result, and not every piece of clothing is described as being dangerous. Isn't that interesting? So the extreme choices, the deadly and the danger, D and D, what were they? Saturated and deadly. Yep. Those are the ones that we didn't use. That's exactly right. Fashion wasn't thoroughly filled and wasn't always deadly. Okay. The dangers weren't hidden either. You know, I think I got that wrong myself earlier today when I was looking at this. Yes, it says the dangers weren't hidden either. Matilda's death from arsenic was widely publicized, and medical examiners documented the effects of mercury on the hat makers. That eliminates A. I still think that A is a good answer,
Well, because riddle.
but because of the riddle one. Yes,
Riddle
yeah.
is a question that has the answer hidden within it.
Yeah. But evidently they don't. And sometimes, as you can tell, that's just the trick of knowing
It's its
what
own-
they're thinking about. It's its own riddle. That's exactly right. Okay, so they eliminated A. Think riddled with bullets, the idea of danger, blah, 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 weakens or damages something, okay? So, we have to eliminate the A. But you know what? In this case, we would have gotten, right? If we got this one along with 2 of the others, we still would have gotten 2 out of the 3 points, okay? And that is how the test goes, is that it credits you. It doesn't deduct, it just credits you with all the correct ones that you have. Okay. All right. What primary function do the anecdotes, see there's that word, the anecdotes about Fanny Longfellow and Matilda Shure serve in the passage? They introduce humor to the tone, they add credibility, they help the author connect with her readers, they demonstrate how thoroughly the author has researched her topic. Well, what's one you can automatically?
A, for sure.
A. It's not humorous.
Those stories are not humorous.
No, they're
at
not
all.
humorous. That's exactly right.
B is a good one.
They add credibility,
C, I don't think so.
help the author connect with her readers.
The whole thing does that.
The whole thing does that. Okay.
B and D are the best ones.
Okay. They demonstrate how thoroughly the author has researched her topic.
I'd go with
They add credibility.
Like they add more of a emphasis on how dangerous these are because of
Okay.
real life stories.
Okay, but the way that you described that, and I'll tell you the answer is C. The way that you described that, so yes, it does, but the reason it does is because we connect with it. Okay, even if we don't. I mean, of course, these other things are so bizarre that we connect with it as well.
I forgot totally
But-
about that when I was We sometimes do little sermons at church.
Oh, yeah?
The young guys, and she says, you need to use real life examples to connect with.
Whoa, listen to that. Yeah,
So that
that's
we can-
exactly
so that you
right.
kind of push your point.
Yeah, it helps the reader connect with, it helps the author
forgot
connect
about
with the
that
reader. So in an article like this, that's an important point to remember, is that the anecdotes, well, yes, of course it strengthens the credibility, but even more, it helps us connect with it. Okay? Yeah. Okay. This is, okay, if you get one like this,
between the author's point of view and her
purpose.
purpose.
Yeah. So the relationship between the author's point of view and her purpose. The two are aligned. A different point of view would advance her purpose more effectively. Her point of view changes at different points. The purpose and point of view work against each other. Well, what's one that you can automatically eliminate?
That she reports.
I'd say D.
Yes, you can automatically eliminate that. A good author is not going to, the purpose and point of view are not going to work against each other,
That's
okay?
what they're trying to go for.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think usually many people do that. But, not in this article. This article is not doing that.
Because she does talk about different points of views would advance her purpose more effectively. I think the is what there is.
No.
Why not and why?
Well, the different point of view would advance her purpose more effectively. I don't think so. I think she's staying on her point of view. Like, if she was a different point of view, it would kind of contradict what she's
Okay,
arguing
and
against.
so then they would work against each other.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So probably B and D go together in that. So we're closing in on it.
I'd say C. We can also eliminate C. Her point of view changes at different points
Okay.
in the passage.
Because she's definitely keeping on track, right?
She's staying on
Yep.
one subject.
So
Transition to
the best answer for this is going to be the point of view is aligned with the author's purpose. And there again, this is one of those, I think I've mentioned this before. So this is one of those questions where you almost don't have to even read the article, okay? Because a good author, the point of view is going to be aligned with the purpose, okay? And so a question like that, that's going to be your right answer. Okay. As the passage describes the end of dangerous materials and manufacturing techniques, the underlying assumption is that consumers preferred fashion over their own safety. The practice was so entrenched that external pressure was required. Consumers valued themselves more than they valued the workers who produced fashion garments. Fashion workers had no power to bring about change. Whew. This one was a tough one for me.
They all have their points.
They all have their points, don't they? Do you think in actuality they preferred fashion over their own safety?
I don't think they
Probably not.
They probably didn't know
If
even.
they probably didn't even know.
I mean,
Yes.
the lady that sadly caught fire knew her dress would do that. She wouldn't have worn it.
Exactly. That's precisely right. So I think this is the easiest one to eliminate. Okay. The practice was so entrenched. Do you know what that word means? That external pressure was required.
Entrenched, like they're dug in. They're not. It's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
It
You're
took
exactly
some
right.
big guys and men's hats getting out of fashion to.
Yes, plus what else? Was there other external pressure? Like what? What pressure came from the outside to
Talking about the effects of arsenic.
talking about the effects of
Yeah.
arsenic? Yep. Yeah. And, okay, consumers value themselves more than they value the workers. Is that valid?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm
That's
afraid
what I was
it
kinda
is.
thinking when I
Yeah.
briefly said all of them had their points, but I thought A was really saying that.
Uh,
Then you said there instead of keyword. If you got rid of the word there on A, it would work.
You're right.
Or what?
Yes, you're right. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Fashion workers had no power to bring about change.
They did have power. They could have quit wearing it.
Fashion workers.
Oh, yeah, well, I guess they could have quit.
They could have, although if you're in dire straits,
Yeah.
Back then, yeah,
Right.
it was probably the easiest. Like working at McDonald's, like if I work at McDonald's, like the best place you can go to, I guess, if you really
right?
need more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Back then, that was like the McDonald's of their day.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Cheap.
And so I don't think it's D. So between B and C, what do you think is the best one? Which one do you think is the bigger point? Because I agree with you guys that both of these are true. Which one do you think is the bigger point?
Probably B.
Probably B. I agree with you. And they do too. Yeah. B is the bigger point. So I always hope that when we're going through questions like this that you pick up hints about how to think about questions. But now so this is another hint. Now that we got these two out of the way, and both of the others are valid, okay? Then ask yourself that question: which is the more general one? Which encompasses it better? Okay. Okay. All right. I'm not going to do this one. Or wait a minute. Let's quickly do this one. Okay. So this goes with. This says, now assume that the passage is paired with the following brief excerpt. Rocky Flats from Hazard to Haven. On the site of what was once a highly contaminated nuclear weapons production facility, the Rocky Flats National Wildlife Refuge is committed to protecting endangered species. Visitors can now hike, take guided nature tours, cycle or horseback rides along a year-round trail system. The grand-scale cleanup, initially estimated at $37 billion over 60 to 70 years, was completed within 10 years for just $7 billion. But just how safe is this former weapons plant site? The debate revolves around the concerns of thousands of nearby homeowners who claim that residual plutonium and other toxins put their health at risk. Okay, now here it says, drag and drop the concept or theme evident in each passage under the correct passage on the chart. Okay, so here's the killer clothing one, the bigger one, and the Rocky Flats that we just now did. Financial gain chosen over health. One affected group has no choice. Advances in materials bring improvements. Responsibility cannot be assigned to specific individuals or groups. Wow. What do you think goes under which?
Well, C obviously I think goes with the killer clothing.
Okay.
As a material
Okay.
brings improvement.
Okay. Because this doesn't. Okay.
The architect.
Mm-hmm. A goes to Rocky. Financial gain chosen over health. Or which one are you saying? To Rocky or Killer? To this one? Yes. Okay. One affected group has no choice. What do you think about that one?
That's probably killer. That's probably referring to, well, it could be both, but I'm thinking more of killer because it's more the workers that back then and now.
Yeah, they were more affected than the people who were buying it, and they didn't have a choice. They were pretty much on their last dime.
Okay.
So they had
That's one of our assumptions anyway, right? Yeah.
But they had to work there, so then they were more affected than
And
everyone else, and they didn't have a choice.
And although the homeowners are also affected, they can move.
Can they?
Well,
Yeah? Who knows?
I was starting to second guess myself after when I was.
But if you gotta look at yes, they can move, but do they have the money to move? And stuff like the financial group, the financial stability to move.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same.
That kind of contradicts the whole reason. But
It's the same. It's the same reason you give for the workers as well.
Yeah.
They can get a different job, but can they?
But can they? Yes. What?
I feel like
What are you saying, Tina? What do you want?
I see the two they talk about health
The health right here.
is yes.
And so which one?
I see they talk about it in two.
In the Rocky one, or in the killer one? Which one are you saying?
Waki?
Okay, in the Rocky one.
No,
Okay.
Waki is the first one.
Oh, this is both Rocky.
Oh, okay.
Yes, this is both Rocky right here, and it's talking about the Rocky Flats.
Yeah, it's Waki.
Visitors can now hike. Okay, financial gain chosen over health. Okay. Responsibility cannot be assigned to specific individuals or groups. Wow. Which one does that go with?
That was hard.
It is hard.
Because I was gonna say killer, but it's like, I would say Rocky.
You would say Rocky on this one?
Responsibility can't be assigned to specific.
With Rocky, responsibility could be thrown right at the government, because what took
Ooh.
them, what should have been taken 60 to 70 years and 37 million, they just decided to do it in 10 and 7. So, and the homeowners, they weren't out there cleaning on their own. So, responsibility, in my opinion, goes right to the government on that one.
Ooh.
So that's why I'm leaning toward killer, but you could also say the manufacturers who are could be, responsible as well. So I'm gonna lean more
The
to
plot
one.
thickens. Are there any of these others that you think, if this is killer, are there any of these others that could be Rocky?
Probably B, if you wanted to go back to that argument. B would be also Rocky as well.
Okay, now what do you guys like best?
Has no choice. Well, if people go hike, they have a choice whether they can hike there or not.
Correct.
So they do have a choice.
And you move
But what
them
about
to
these
that
people right here? The debate revolves around the concerns of thousands of nearby homeowners.
Yeah, I'd say that the homeowners didn't necessarily have a choice too. They had because now thinking back, after you inhale all those fumes, it kind of stays with you. No matter how many times you try to wash it out in treatment. So I'd say that that one would be the Rocky one because the affected group had no choice. They lived there and then they inhaled all those
Right,
fumes.
they didn't know that
They
there
didn't
was
have a choice
danger.
to not inhale
Yeah.
it.
And so I'm thinking that this one is Rocky and that this one is killer. Because the government could be assigned, like you were saying. Yep. Let's see how we did. Okay, let me see here. A falls under killer. What? Hat makers knew the dangers of mercury, but viewed them as the hazards that one had to accept with the job. So A falls under killer. Whoa! The Rocky Flats does not say that developers knew about the potential dangers. Okay. So, financial gain chosen over health. Interesting.
Well, they were
It does
going for the
make
development.
sense.
We were going
It
for the government
does.
on that one.
Yeah!
think it's
I know. That's what, I was there with
Then
you.
again, it became a national.
Only
threat.
one group, endangered species, living in the Rockies has no choice about being exposed to risk. B goes to Rockies.
Yeah, because
Yeah, one affected group has no
will be
choice.
affected.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking of it.
C goes to killer. Yes. And so this one is Rocky. Now let's see why they do that. The Rocky Flats excerpt does not provide enough information to assign responsibility. So D goes in that column. Did the government or the weapons production company undertake the cleanup? Huh? I guess we made assumptions that we weren't supposed to make. Wow. I didn't do well on that one.
Either way, that does a lot of that does make sense.
It does when you see the answers, right?
Yeah. and
If only you
start
could
thinking
read
about
the
it.
minds of the test makers. Yes.
And you start thinking about it after they, You know what? That actually does make sense.
I know.
How it works.
So here is one of the things that I realized that I did wrong in thinking about this. Responsibility cannot be assigned. It's true. We are not told who it was. Okay, we are not told. Although we're not really told on the manufacturer's one either, the killer one.
Assumptions on both.
It's assumptions on both, yes. Financial gain chosen over health, and that was killer, right?
Yeah.
I guess that was an assumption that I
It
made
does make
too.
sense because
It does.
The people who are selling it were like,
Well,
it's dangerous, but here you go.
Yeah, that's
you're
right.
giving us money, and you get this.
And it was the owners that would be profiting
the
from
closest
it.
example
Yes,
would be the girl who was at that factory dying.
correct.
Those guys at that factory saw that. Higher ups probably heard or saw that. They should have said, okay, that's
it.
Or arsenic. We should stop that. now.
Correct, but they went on.
But
Yeah.
they were
Yes.
making so much money that they were-
Right. And so once again, we were making assumptions about this one, why it took $7 billion instead of the projected cost. So
Garbage cheap.
yeah, this is a good lesson for me to not make assumptions. So, okay. Now, on your packet, we didn't get as far as I thought we would, which is fine. There is one more article. Take it home, please, and see what you do with it. Oh, and if anybody brought back your, what was it? Was it Johnson, LBJ? Right? I handed that out to you guys
Yeah.
and told you to take it home. Lyndon Baines Johnson signing the Civil Rights Bill. Did I tell you to take it home, or did you finish it? I know you didn't have it.
Finished it.
Huh? Did you finish it and check it?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't have it in. I don't know if I have it in here.
Okay. We did it.
Yeah.
I thought we hadn't done it. Okay, perfect. So go ahead and do this at home, and I'd love to see how you, what your answers are then. Take a break.
I gotta head out.
Oh, that's right. You do have to head out.
I got a fire meeting I need to attend.
Oh, have fun with that.
It comes with the job.